We have to find a way to talk and have dialogue and be tolerant between other views.
You have to have open dialogue, and that's where free speech is so important.
Consent's a very important thing, and today in the Me Too movement, it's been very important because I think it's really opened up a lot of eyes.
Cannabis is a healing herb. We as the people, we need to stand up and make a move.
If you committed sexual assault, it doesn't matter when it was, you should be held accountable for that. However, we have to make sure that we actually make sure they committed sexual assault, and we have to make sure that all allegations are verified.
They'll put in these programs thinking that it'll help everyone, but what they forget is that the pathway to hell is paved with good intention.
And I think that's what this whole movement is all about anyways, is trying to be open to ideas.
Welcome back to Liberty Talks Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Anderson, and today we're going to be talking about the differences between classical liberals, conservatives, and libertarians. Classical liberals believe in the rights of the individual. They believe in limited government, and they have a live and let live philosophy. These people could possibly be a Democrat, but more like your old school liberals, old school Democrats, definitely not your 2019 leftist. Someone like Uncle Andy from Weeds.
I mean, I'm off the grid. I'm off the grid, Andy.
No, really. Go back and watch Weeds, the series on Netflix or however you watch it. Uncle Andy is pro-civil liberty, anti-war, and he's a stoner.
Invaded a sovereign nation in defiance of the UN. He's a war criminal, and now I'm supposed to be one of his disposable thugs with a fucking target on my head in the middle of the desert, waiting to be blown up by a car bomb rigged by a 12-year-old who loved Friends and Metallica until one of our missiles blew up his house? I don't think so.
Many classical liberals identify as pro-choice, although nowadays, many classic liberals like Dave Rubin are even admitting that it is hard to identify as pro-choice in an environment where the Democrats are pushing for late-term abortion and infanticide.
I myself as begrudgingly pro-choice. I think it's a horrible decision to have to make, and I'm really struggling with it. And by the way, I'm struggling with it more now than ever because the left has gone so bananas on abortion.
9 months.
So they're literally
9 months.
talking. I mean, they're
nuts.
honestly having discussions about post-birth abortions. I mean, really
Which
crazy.
is just murder, right?
Which is
kill your 2-year-old.
Ultimately, what is great about classical liberals is that they can bring in people from the left by showing them that we gain liberalism and freedom through a limited government and not through a government handout. Conservatives believe that your rights are given to you by your creator and not by your government. They believe in conserving certain government practices, such as the Constitution, and limiting the government when it is necessary. Conservatives believe in equality under the law, and you can say that they are general supporters of individualism. However, this kind of falls in conflict when they talk about safety and security, and also warfare, national security, and international borders.
You gotta help me, man. I will. I'm gonna put one of those yellow ribbon stickers on my car. For you.
While talking to many conservatives, they would use the phrase life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness to describe their core principles, and also citing life as being the first principle, because without the right to life, we have no liberty.
I think it's possible that someone could be conservative and pro-choice. Do you think that's possible?
It kind of goes against the foundation of conservatism. You say you don't think that people have a right to live.
Okay,
right?
so I think that would
life,
be
liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and that's something that usually it collapses upon itself.
right. So
Conservatives also love and deeply cherish their traditions. Now onto libertarians. Libertarians believe in property rights and the right to self-ownership. They believe in individual rights and are strong proponents of individualism. Libertarians believe that through self-ownership, we can utilize the non-aggression principle to decide whether actions are just or unjust. The NAP, the NAP, or the non-aggression principle, is arguably the core principle of libertarianism. Libertarians actually believe that the right to self-ownership actually comes from property rights, because through you owning yourself, it's you owning your property. And in a free society, an individual owns themselves and can do whatever they want with their property, with their body, as long as they're not hurting anyone else. Okay, so I'm going to break down libertarians into two categories, because we all know that socialist libertarians are just communists. So besides classic liberals and core conservatives, libertarians and the liberty movement as a whole is made up of two other groups of libertarians, and that would be minarchists and anarchists. Minarchists believe in a very downsized and a very limited and localized government. According to Rand Paul, when he was running for president, he said he would make the government so small you could barely see it. Anarchists believe in practically abolishing all forms of involuntary action. Anarchists believe that all actions should be voluntary, and that government itself is a territorial monopoly on force and violence. And to be honest with you, they're not wrong. Minarchists believe that the only legitimate form of government and purpose of government is to protect the rights of the individual. I hope you liked this short show and podcast. If you'd like to help us out, please follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Check us out on iTunes, Spotify, Google, you name it, we're on it. And thank you for listening to Liberty Talks Podcast.